Well, hey folks, how's it going today? I hope everyone's doing really good. I'm getting ready to polish some frets on this Strat neck here. I got some high frets I got to deal with, a few sharp fret ends as well. So I figured this would be a good chance to kind of go through the procedure, at least how I go about this. This is a very common problem that repair guys deal with and guitarists in general. Sharp fret ends, frets that aren't installed correctly or they've lifted. It happens all the time. So, and it's frustrating. If you got high frets down here, you might not even be able to hear the notes here. They might just fret out. So, this is the first thing that I'd like to do is just go through the procedure like I said, and I'm going to go through the tools that are on this bench as we go along. And just kind of explain some things you may want to purchase, and I'm going to at least tell you what you absolutely need to have to do this. So some of it you don't, some of it you can get by, you can make your own. We'll go through that as well. So the first thing you need to do, make sure the neck is absolutely straight. Now I can look down them and do it. I think we've probably all got pretty good at doing that over the years, but if you use a notched straight edge like this, you can buy these. You can see it has two sides. It has different scale lengths on each side, okay? So basically, these notches are for the fret wire, okay? So you set this on there, and basically, you can see just ever so slightly a little bit of daylight under a couple of them. So it's pretty straight. But you want to close that gap up and have it perfectly straight. And this is just a no-nonsense way to check, okay? Now, you can look down the neck right now, and I guarantee it's going to look dead straight to your eye. But as you could see, there was a little bit of discrepancy there, right in the middle, and that's where it always is. Okay, so, that's a good thing to have. You could also easily make one of these. Go buy an aluminum yardstick at a hardware store. They're $5 or whatever. And take a grinder or whatever you have to cut the notches. Cut yourself some notches. And boom, you got a nice straight edge. A notched straight edge at that point. So that's the first move. You got to make sure the neck is straight, okay? The second move is to take your fret rocker, which you need to have one of these. I mean, if you're going to do this stuff, you got to have a fret rocker. So that's how you tell if the frets are high. Now, you can hear that little clank sound. Okay, so it's like teeter-tottering on there. So I'm going to mark that right in the middle. Okay, so when you do this, you need to span 3 frets only, no more. That's why you have different lengths on your fret rocker. As you get headed this way with the fret rocker, the frets get closer together. So by the end of the fretboard, you're going to be on the smallest side of the fret rocker. Okay. So again, only span 3 frets when you do this. And you want to check outside to outside all the way across the span of the fret. You could have a high fret in the middle, and it could be tight on the ends. It could be tight all the way across here, and then just lifted here. I've seen every possible way that they could actually lift. And a lot of times, it could be just they were not installed properly. Okay, so moving to the next step here. How do you know if you need to actually level the frets? Well, what is leveling the frets? Well, that's when you take a sanding beam. You can even do it with a flat file, but this is kind of the preferred method. Now, the only way that I do this is if there's a bunch in a line that need it, I will do that. If it's just 1 or 2, I'll just do them individually with a file. So again, if if I only have a couple frets that need it, I'll just plane off what's high. Or the first thing that I usually will do is take my fret hammer. If you got a high fret, try knocking it down first. A lot of times you can drive them back down without doing anything. If you don't have to take anything off the top of your fret wire, that's the ultimate goal, really. So if you do end up sanding and leveling, okay, you want to keep obviously checking with your fret rocker and your straight edge. And what's going to happen is this: you're going to end up. This is a piece of fret wire. This would be where the string rests on, okay? And there is a crown to it. It's got a rounded shape. So the string only hits on a very thin line right in the middle of the crown. Here's your fret tang that goes down in the slot, okay? Now when you file these off, that gets flat. And if you take a string on a flat fret, it will buzz. It'll do the same thing in the nut. That needs to be tapered this way. If it's just dead flat, you'll get buzz in there. And it's pretty annoying, obviously. That's, what we all hate. So in any case, that's where the crowning comes in, okay? So there's a few ways that I go about this. Now, you can use a triangle file. I've seen a lot of guys do that. You can grind the 3 very sharp points that are toothed as well, and grind a safe edge in there, which will make it smooth. You can use a guard like this. You could use, I used to use a business card and do it like that. You can tape them off too. You don't have to tape everyone off. Just get like 4 or 5 pieces of tape and then just keep bunny hopping them as you go along. So there are alternates, to that too. You can buy these inexpensive crowning files, so you can see it has a concaved cutting edge on each side. One is a little bigger than the other. Well, which one do I use? Well, it depends on the size of your fret. So a good thing to do is take a marker and mark it, okay? Run that across there and see if it's wiping the very top of that off. If it is, then you better try the other side, because you don't want to take any off the top. What we're really going after when we crown is, if this is flattened off, we want to kind of file the sides off, okay? So it makes more of a point here. It's not a point, it's rounded, but that will help, bring the flat spot. It will shrink it. That's really what we're after. So you can do it with one of these. You can do it with a triangle file and come in from the sides like this, which works great. It takes some practice to do this now. So just keep that in mind. Now here's a really nice file. This is a Baroque, really expensive. 3 different grooves in it. 3 different sizes as well. Now, you want to know what you're doing when you run one of these, because you can plane them frets right to the wood really fast with that file. It really takes it away quick if you're on the wrong, crown cut in the file, or slot, I should say. So those are some of the basics. You really got to have a fret hammer, a crowning tool, one of these, a fret rocker. We're also going to need to get one of these. Now, you can get these at Stu Mac. And let's bring you in the light so you can really see what's going on with this. Okay, so one side of this file is perfectly square and really sharp on the ends. And that is for getting the very corner of the fret wire, like this, okay? The other side is smooth and rounded. I don't know if you can see that, but that's called a safe edge. So that way you can get the side of the fret now, you get the corner, the very corners with the squared end. You use the safe edge to get the rest of it, okay? And the safe edge will help from putting Mars and scars in the fretboard. So you got to have one of those too. So fret hammer, crowning tool, fret file, and a nice flat file. Okay, get a nice fine tooth one. That's what I like to use. So when I start out with sharp fret ends, I'll take this flat file, okay, and what you want to do, I don't hold it flat like this. I have it on an angle, so it's just touching the very corners here, okay? Now you can tape this off too if you're worried about scratching your finish. If you've never done it before, it's probably a good idea. Now I just turn that slightly on an angle. No pressure. I'm just dragging the file along till the fret wire catches it and stops it like that did right there. So I know I got to put a little pressure and just kind of go back over that. Again, you'll be able to feel it. This is all done by touch, honestly. Same thing on the other side. We'll just put it on that angle and just drag it along easy. And if it stops on a fret wire, then you know it's sharp. Now that right there took a lot of it away, honestly. There are a few other options. I use these stones, different grit. I've used those for even doing the ends a little bit sometimes. It's really up to you how you do it. But you want to be careful that you don't file a lot of it away, only what you need to. Make sure that you don't bevel it too far, because if you bevel this back here in this direction, you're losing playing field here for your strings. What will happen is if you file them back too far, your string, when you grab a chord, the string will kind of fall off the fret wire. Then you basically faced with refretting, okay? So make sure the neck is straight. Check all the frets with a fret rocker, of course. Mark the ones that need to be addressed. If there's a bunch of them in a line, or if there's a bunch of them in this area, say you had 7 or 8 of them here that needed to be addressed. Same up here. Then I would completely level it with a sanding beam. You can make one of these out of a 2-foot level even. Put some, sticky sandpaper on one face of it. I've seen a lot of guys do that. Whatever works, So there are a few other options too, as far as like high frets. Like I said, first thing, you find one, pound it down, and check it with your fret rocker. See if it drove it down. Now here's the other option. You can buy these fret presses, okay? Now this goes in an arbor press or a drill press. You have all these different dies that come with it with different radiuses. And they're marked right on there with a number, okay? So you just check your fretboard, find out which radius is the right one. You take this little Allen bolt out. You can slide that out, slide the correct die in there. And it's grooved out right here on the bottom to actually sit right on the fret wire. It works really well. The nice thing about having one of these, if you have a fret that's lifting and it won't stay down, you can press it down and then hit it with a little thin super glue on each side and hold it down until it dries. That's really when I use this mostly. And this works great even just for installing them too. You can do that. I usually start them in with a hammer anyway and go from there. A neck like this is really easy to do with this because it's off the body of the guitar. An acoustic guitar is a little different because the neck's hooked to it. So, It takes a little bit of different technique and a little different plan on an acoustic sometimes, but it's the same principles. You can buy these protectors, like I said. You can get them with handles on them. You can get them without. You can get all different widths for different wires and whatnot. Now, I use these sometimes, not always, but if you're just starting out, they're really inexpensive and not a bad idea, just so you don't scratch everything up. The biggest thing about this is, as far as guitar repairs go, when you do a repair or you do anything, a lot of times there will be blemishes. Sometimes it's inevitable. It's just the way it has to go to repair it. So really, you have to learn how to cover your tracks and blend the little mistakes or whatever in there. That just takes a lot of practice and a lot of repetition and years of experience doing it, honestly. So once that's all done, I'll take some micro mesh paper. This stuff right here. You can buy all different assortments of this. So one side's spongy, and it's got the grit marked on it. The other side's got the grit in it. Now what I do is I usually will take that and span 2 frets. I put the pressure right on the fret wire. And I don't do this extremely hard, just a little bit of pressure, okay? To shine everything back up after I've recrowned and done all that. So, a lot of guys swear by these. Some guys don't like them. But if you do use them, try to put the pressure over the fret wire. Don't put it in the middle of the pad, because that's going to scuff this if you're not taped off. When you get down here, you can span 4 frets and do it, okay? So just keep an eye on that, and that's after you've crowned, and you're just looking to take the striations out of the fret wire from the crowning file. There's a few other ways I will do it too. I'll use a sanding beam sometimes, and instead of going this way, I'll go in this direction back and forth. And that cleans the striations up, and you can also, when you get out to the edge, you can kind of feel if it's got some, little snags on the ends too. So again, there's a lot of different methods to this. Once that's done, I'll usually go over it with a fret eraser just for a final little polish. Now these come in different grits too. It's basically just like an eraser, and it's just got some grit added to it. Again, I always try to span at least 2 frets, and you can do it with 1, 2, but if you have it on 2 frets, light pressure, it's just a polish. It's not like I'm trying to remove things with this. It's really just to kind of polish up the final stage of it. So that's another really good thing to have, and a lot of guys do not like these. I don't see a big deal with it. A lot of guys say, well, you get this eraser kind of dust, and it's kind of... I don't get that because I don't push that hard. These are only for like my finish and polish. You can use some stuff like this too. It's kind of like a buffing compound you can put on the wire. I've seen guys do it with jeweler's rouge and a buffing wheel. That works good too. There's all kinds of ways to do it. I try to do everything by hand if I can, just because it slows me down and makes me pay attention to it a little more. So again, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your frets actually have a crown or this little arc on the top. If they're flat from filing, you got to recrown them. You don't want to take any more off the top. You just want to take some kind of off the sides and redirect that angle and shorten that flat spot up. Okay, so, again, it all depends on what you're using for a file. And it only takes, probably 7 or 8, maybe 10 strokes across it. I don't push down really hard either. This becomes a feel thing too. When you run that across there, you're gonna feel it like catching on stuff. You'll feel these little stop things. Generally, I just try to do it until I don't feel those anymore. And you can actually kind of get some of the ends with it too. Be very careful. You don't want to change that angle and shorten the fret wire up is all. And that works pretty good. It really does. Now, once you get it crowned, look at it, get some magnification out if you need to. Make sure that the fret is crowned and it's rounded like that, okay? Keep checking it. If you've never done this, take an old guitar and try it, or just take one fret and experiment, and just take your time doing it. Keep looking at it, get a visual, and see what you're doing. Mark it with a marker so you know what's being removed. Those are all things that really are very important when you first start doing this stuff. I didn't have anyone to teach me. It was all basically just, by feel and trial and error. And I started out with old guitars doing it, just old junkers, Again, when you get down to the final stages of the filing, just remember, use the flat side to do the very corners of the fret end. And that's usually the sharp parts, okay? And just so you guys can kind of get a glimpse of this, it's a compound motion. So what's happening is I'm going down and I'm rolling my angle this way, okay? That's it. That's the move. Just one lick across it. Same thing on this side. That takes care of the ends. Then you flip it over on the safe edge, and you can get the rest of it, okay? Now that takes care of, the upper part and the side of the fret here. It really is not that tough. Once you do it a couple times and you take your time, you'll get the hang of it. Like I said, it's not really rocket science. We're just trying to make the fret look like that again. You want that nice rounded top to it, okay? As round as you can. You're not looking for a pyramid, not a sharp point. You want a gradual crown to it, okay? So basically, that's my approach to it. Again, it's very important to make sure the neck is straight. If you start filing on this and it's got forward bow or back bow in it, let's say it had back bow in it. So as you run your fret rocker down, it's going to give you a misread. First of all, you'll probably end up planing off a bunch of fret wire in the middle of it. Then when you finally truss the neck, you're done. So just take your time, follow those simple steps, and you should be good to go. Like I said, you may come up with your own little methods on how you finish things. I know I did. I still use micro mesh even on the edges, after I file it. Really fine grit, but it just reassures that I'm not missing anything, and I can kind of feel it, any hang-ups, and that lets me know if there's one poking out. Same way we did with the flat file here, okay? So get yourself a good flat file, a fretting hammer, a fret dressing file. I would get a triangle file too, some micro mesh, a fret rocker, and a crowning tool. Honestly, if you have these right here, you can pretty much do it, all right? A sanding beam is probably not a bad thing to have, or make your own in case you do need to level a bunch. The straight edge is also extremely handy. I mean, I know, like I said, I can look down a neck and pretty much tell if it's straight, but you can't tell within thousandths of an inch. I don't care how many times you've looked down a guitar neck. I've looked down thousands of them. Trust me, you can get it pretty close. That's really how it was done back in the day. But if you got the tool, or if you want to make one out of a straight edge, I really recommend it. Then there's no guesswork. You know that thing is absolutely straight and flat. Then when you do your fretwork to it, it's going to be right. Okay? So hopefully that helps, folks. I know this is kind of a long, boring video, but I wanted to go over this. I just think it's important. I mean, a lot of you guys can probably do this stuff and fix your sharp ends and things like that on your own. It's just, at first, I was probably the same. I didn't dare to do it. So that's why I recommend getting an older guitar, practice on it, and, it's worth it. Say you buy a $15 or $20 guitar beside the road. That's what you want to start with. It'll have all the issues that you will need to learn how to do this anyway, guaranteed. Most of those old guitars, the frets are terrible in them. They're sharp, all that kind of stuff. So that's a good way to practice and a good way to learn. And like I said, you may come up with your own little methods of how you approach this. I just wanted to share mine with you and kind of go through the steps, hopefully in order. I know I might have backpedaled a couple times, but that's pretty much the process. Make the neck straight, fret rock it, go through that ritual, see if there's string grooves, take a few measurements on the frets, even from the top down to the fretboard, with a set of calipers. You can buy these at a tool place for $15 now. I mean, they're cheap. Well, all right, folks. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate all the views and comments. I hope this information helps you guys out, and hopefully you can, take care of some of these issues on your own guitars. So best of luck to all of you. Thanks again for the views. We'll see you real soon. Be good. Okie doke.